Animal Man number 11, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Alberto Ponticelli. Last issue left off with Cliff being kidnapped by one of the Hunters 3 and Animal Man saying, "Hey, my son's in trouble, give me a new body," to which they agreed. So this issue picks up with the Tailors being called in and basically saying, yes, Animal Man, we're the ones who gave you your powers before. We will do so again, but what should we do this time? Maybe we'll make you a brunette. But they basically come down to the decision of, look, we're going to give you back the powers, but we're going to give you a more durable link to the red. So therefore, you can do like a lot more, including some shape-shifting is going to be involved a little bit. So they just start like poking and prodding at him and like literally like just stretching his flesh out in a typically horrific fashion. So then we cut back to Ellen and the entire rest of the group, and like, Cliff, where's Cliff? Maxine, can you reach out in the red and try to find Cliff? And she's like, you told me not to use my powers. Like, yeah, well, I'm changing my mind. But at that point, Socks is like, oh, hold on, I've got the scent of the rot. The rot has your boy. And he starts to transform into this giant behemoth of a cat, and he's like, the rot's near, I'm going after it, I will hunt. And he makes his way out. Then we get this 2-page spread of Buddy as just a consciousness somewhere in the red, and he's like, I exist, but I don't have a form. And he just like slowly reaches out to more and more creatures of the reds until he finally evolves into himself. He starts as a nanobe, turns into a fairy fly, a salamander, a bird, some sort of gopher. Finally he reaches chimp, and at this point his higher brain function is like this word in my head just ringing, I have to find Cliff, Cliff, Cliff. Until finally he gets back into this human's body, and he's like, all right, after Cliff. And he falls out of the tree that Maxine led him to in the desert, down to the sand. And as soon as he gets out, he uses his powers, and he's like, I'm stronger. Speed of cheetah. And he like kind of transforms into a cheetah and just makes his way over to Cliff. So meanwhile, on the outskirts of town, Socks has managed to make his way. He's tracked down the scent to where Cliff is. And Cliff is just standing there. He's like, what are you doing here, furball? And he's like, the rot. I smell the rot. And you went missing. I'm pretty sure you're kidnapped by the rot. And he's like, no, I'm fine. Look, my dad's here. And then the Animal Man that's possessed by one of the hunters is like, yeah, I'm here. Nothing to worry about. And so then we cut back to the family, who's like, I can't believe I lost my husband and my son. This sucks. I'm a horrible mother. And her mother's like, no, that's not your fault. That's all Buddy's fault. To which Buddy then arrives. And he's like, yeah, no, totally. This is all my fault. And he looks like half bird at this point. So he arrives, he hugs his family, and she's like, please, like, stop doing the hero thing. I'm so tired. He's like, look, I get it, and we're totally done with the hero stuff, but I need to do it this one last time to go save Cliff. And she's like, fine, just bring me back my boy. So Maxine gets her dad some pants, and then he flies off to go find Cliff. And meanwhile, we see Cliff is finally realizing, like, wait a minute, your flesh is kind of dangling off your face. You're not my dad. And Socks tries to get in the way, throws a punch. The hunter just breaks Socks' arm. At which point Buddy then arrives in the form of a rhinoceros and just shows up and be like, you let my son go, I swear to God. And he's like, oh, your children make you weak, Buddy. And it's like, you have no idea what's coming. And he just slowly draws a cut down Cliff's cheek, to which point Cliff starts crying for help for his dad. And then Buddy just goes full gorilla and uppercuts the hunter's head off. So Cliff runs back, he hugs his dad, and then the hunter's head tries to crawl back to the body like the Thing style. And he's like, ooh, all you had to do was give us the girl, but we've taken so much more from you now. The rot world is coming, and our master is along with it. And Buddy's like, who is the avatar of the rot? Tell me who it is, and I'll fight him. I'll knock him on his ass. Just give me the word. And he's like, you're not going to be able to find him. That's going to spoil the fun. To which point, Buddy then sets down the head on the ground, turns into an elephant foot, and just crushes it. And Cliff is like, I don't think I'm going to eat pizza ever again. So Cliff and Buddy make their way back to the family. They all hug each other, and Buddy promises, like, no, we're done. It's over. Really, it's done. Let's just go home. And Maxine hugs Socks, who's gone back to her smaller form. And she's like, oh, they hurt your little arm. She's like, please be careful with me. But then at that point, Cliff his head starts spinning and he's like, I don't feel very good. And his eyes roll back and he's like, I can see him coming arcane. And he passes out as the family just gathers around him, like trying to shake him awake. And it says, next time, Swamp Thing. So here's the deal. Next issue marks the prologue, prelude, whatever you want to call it, to the big finally crossover event of Rot World, which is between the main story of Animal Man and Swamp Thing and the crossover being covered, as well as tie-ins and Frankenstein, I believe. So be sure to tune in for that. I'm certainly interested. This particular issue, I think was good. I think it was a solid way of just, okay, it took the thing, it got Buddy back on the board, it set him up with some new powers, it set up the threat of what's coming. It managed to involve Cliff now, who up to this point, it felt like a pretty tertiary character. So I'm interested. I'm down for it. This book has never disappointed so far. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one I'll give it an 8. I think it's really good. My only real critique in that is I think that there was a lot more story potential in Buddy getting his new body, but they went with a philosophical angle of like, oh, he's making his way through the red web. I think it just could have taken like another 2 or 3 pages of just showing like the tailor's crafting it. I think it was ripe for an extra little something. They decided not to, and that's fine. It's still an 8, but I do think that that was a cool enough concept that they just kind of brushed over because they needed this to be done before the crossover. So, yeah, 8, liking it.